What if the one secret your spouse was keeping from you wasn't about an affair, but about something so much deeper, so much more painful, that it would force you to look in the mirror and ask yourself a question you'd been avoiding your whole life? What if the lie wasn't about love at all, but about fear? The fear that if the person you loved most in the world ever saw the real you, where you actually came from, what your life actually looked like before them, they would walk away without looking back. This is a story about a man who disguised himself as a taxi driver to catch his wife cheating. And what he discovered instead didn't just save his marriage, it completely changed who he was. It started with a crumpled card. Adam found it on the floor of his wife's wardrobe, fallen out when she grabbed her purse and missed it on the way back in. Plain white. No logo, no company name. Just two things written in pen. A name, Anthony Scott, and a phone number underneath it. The card was folded and refolded, like it had been handled many times, like someone had been deliberate about keeping it out of sight. Adam stood there in the wardrobe doorway, card in his hand, his whole chest tightening. He and Mary had been married for 10 years, a decade. He thought he knew every person in her life, every friend, every colleague, every acquaintance she'd ever mentioned twice. The name Anthony Scott had never come up once. When Mary came downstairs for breakfast that morning, Adam was already in the kitchen, watching her the way you watch someone when something has shifted and you're not sure yet what it means. She kissed his forehead the way she always did. Automatic, routine, comfortable. Then she reached for the coffee. "Who's Anthony Scott?" The cup stopped moving. Mary's whole body went still. The color left her face so fast it was like watching a light switch off. "Where did you find that?" "Your wardrobe. Fell out when I was looking for my cufflinks. Who is he?" "He's nobody important." And there it was. That specific phrase people use when something is very important and they desperately don't want you to know it. Adam set the card on the counter between them. Nobody important doesn't get a handwritten card hidden in a wardrobe. What followed was the kind of conversation that leaves marks. Mary tried several stories in quick succession. A charity contact, volunteer work she'd been thinking about, an organization called Hope Foundation on the East Side. Each answer arrived too quickly, fell apart too easily. When Adam pulled out his phone and searched for Hope Foundation East Side, nothing came up. Not a website, not a listing, not a single result. "Even the corner store shows up on Google," Adam said. "If a charity doesn't exist online in this decade, it basically doesn't exist." Her hands were shaking. Her eyes kept darting toward the window. And then her phone rang. She looked at the screen and went a shade paler than she already was. "Answer." "It," Adam said. "I don't have to answer right now. Answer it in front of me." "Adam, answer it, Mary." She didn't. She let it ring. A text came through seconds later and she shoved the phone into her bag without reading it out loud. Then another text right on its heels. Adam watched her face the whole time. The way her jaw tightened, the way she wouldn't look at him. And something cold settled in his chest. "He's desperate to reach you," Adam said quietly. 2 messages in 30 seconds. "What's the rush? If he's nobody important?" "He's not married," Mary said, and immediately clapped her hand over her mouth. But it was too late. Adam went very still. "How do you know whether he's married or not? If he's just a volunteer contact?" Mary stood in the middle of that kitchen completely cornered, not by Adam, but by her own words. The tears came, and they were real, but she still wouldn't answer the question. When he pushed her, really pushed her, asking her to just call. "Anthony right now, put it on speaker, explain the volunteer work that didn't exist." She said something that stopped Adam cold. "I can't tell you right now." "When can you tell me?" "I don't know." "Mary, you are destroying our marriage." "I know. And you still won't tell me the truth, because if I tell you," she whispered, "you'll hate me." Adam looked at her. "I'll hate you more if I find out on my own." "No," Mary said, and her voice was barely audible. "You'll hate me way more if you know the truth." She ran upstairs. The bedroom door slammed hard enough to shake the walls. Adam stood alone in the kitchen, turning that crumpled card over and over in his hand. He'd come in expecting to hear about an affair. What he got instead was something he didn't have a word for yet, a woman so afraid of something that she'd rather let her marriage implode than say it out loud. Now. Over the next few days, Adam watched. Really watched. Mary left the house claiming she was going to the grocery store and came back 4 hours later with nothing. She went to a hair appointment and came home with the exact same hair she left with. She took calls in other rooms. She answered questions with questions. And Adam, a smart man who'd built a successful business by paying attention, started building a plan. He didn't want to hire a private investigator. Too obvious. He didn't want to have another confrontation. He'd already seen where that led. He wanted to see for himself. He wanted to walk into whatever Mary was hiding and look at it with his own eyes. On a Monday morning when he was supposed to be at work, Adam drove to a part of the city where nobody knew his face. Thrift store clothes, faded jeans, worn jacket, plain gray shirt, dollar store sunglasses that made everything slightly blurry. A rental car from a place on the east side, the most ordinary vehicle they had. Old white paint, a dent in the back door. The guy behind the counter took his cash without looking up. He spent 2 days watching his own house from down the street, learning Mary's schedule like a surveillance operation. She left every afternoon around 2. Sometimes her car, sometimes a cab. On Tuesday, he followed her in the rental, watched her disappear into buildings on the east side, come back hours later looking somehow lighter, like she'd put down a weight she'd been carrying all day. By Thursday, he was ready. He parked on the corner where Mary always caught her taxi, pulled the cap low, put on the glasses. When he looked at himself in the gas station bathroom mirror, he didn't see Adam Harris, successful businessman. He saw someone invisible. Someone Mary would never recognize in a million years. At exactly 2 o'clock, Mary came out of their house, looked left and right and raised her hand. Adam pulled to the curb. "Need a ride?" She got in without a second glance, too busy looking at her phone. "East Side," she said. "Mason Street." Adam's hands were sweating inside his gloves. His wife of 10 years and was sitting 18 inches behind him and had absolutely no idea. For a few minutes, she was quiet. Then her phone rang. He watched her in the rearview mirror. She looked at the screen, took a slow breath, like she was steeling herself. Answered. "Hello?" "Yes, I'm on my way." I know I should have come sooner." A pause. "No. He doesn't know. He can't know. He would never understand." Adam's knuckles went white on the wheel. "I'm so tired of lying to him," Mary said, her voice dropping low. "Every single day I wake up and I have to pretend to be someone I'm not. He thinks I'm from a nice family in the countryside. He has no idea." Adam's mind started recalibrating. This wasn't the conversation of a woman talking to a boyfriend. This was something else entirely. "My mother is getting worse," Mary said. And now she was crying, quietly, the way people cry when they've gotten so used to hiding it that it comes out small, even when it's enormous. "The cancer is spreading. The doctor said she needs better treatment, but the cost is... I've been using my own savings, but Adam would ask questions if he knew. He would want to know where the money was going, and then I'd have to tell him everything." Adam felt the world tilt sideways under him. "I love him so much," Mary whispered. "But I'm terrified that if he knew who I really am, where I really came from, he wouldn't love me anymore. He married Mary from the countryside. He didn't marry the girl from the east side. He didn't marry the girl whose father was a bricklayer and whose mother sells vegetables on the street corner." Adam sat in complete silence, driving, listening to his wife describe the life she had been living inside the life they shared. Every word hit him somewhere new. "Tell Mom I'll be there in 5 minutes. I brought the money for her medicine." She hung up, sat back, tears running quietly down her face watching the city pass. Adam pulled onto Mason Street and stopped. "Here you are." Mary paid, got out, and walked toward a worn apartment building with faded yellow paint and a broken front gate. She wiped her eyes once, straightened her shoulders, and went inside. Adam sat in the rental car for a long time. He had come here to catch his wife cheating. What he had found instead was a woman who had spent 10 years being so afraid of his judgment that she had built an entirely different person to show him, because she believed, deep in her bones, that the real her wasn't good enough to be loved by someone like him. And sitting there on that street, in his thrift store disguise, Adam had to ask himself the most uncomfortable question of his life. Was she right? He looked around Mason Street, really looked at it, maybe for the first time. Buildings that had been standing a long time, worn but alive. Kids chasing a soccer ball down the sidewalk. An older woman selling fruit from wooden crates, fanning herself in the afternoon heat. Laundry hanging between balconies like colorful flags. This was where Mary came from. This was the world she had been hiding, and the question that was eating Adam alive was this. If she had told him on their first date, if she had said, "My dad was a bricklayer who died when I was 12, and my mom sells vegetables on a street corner, and I went to school at night because I had to work during the day," would he have still been interested? He wanted to say yes immediately. He wanted to believe that about himself. But the yes wouldn't come. And that pause, that hesitation, told Adam everything he needed to know about the work he had in front of him. He waited, watched through a window as shadows moved inside the apartment, heard voices. A woman's voice, weak and tired. Mary's voice, gentle and careful. And a man's voice, warm and steady. Anthony Scott. When they came out to the front steps, Adam could finally see him. A man in his 40s, kind eyes, gray at his temples, wearing jeans and a button-down with the sleeves rolled up. He had his hand on Mary's shoulder. "Your mother is my sister," Adam heard Anthony say. "That makes you my niece. Family takes care of family." Anthony Scott wasn't a boyfriend. He wasn't a lover. He was Mary's uncle. Every accusation Adam had made. Every cold look, every interrogation in the kitchen, every time he'd said the word cheating, all of it, aimed at a man who was just quietly helping his niece care for her dying mother. Adam drove home, but he didn't go inside. He parked down the street and sat with it. All of it. He had 3 choices: pretend he never found out, confront Mary again and watch her panic, or do the harder thing. Look at himself honestly and figure out how to become someone she could actually trust. He sat in that rental car until he knew which one he was choosing. The next morning, he didn't put on the disguise. He drove to the east side in his own car, parked in front of Building 47, walked straight to apartment 1B, and knocked. Anthony answered. Surprised, but not hostile. "My name is Adam Harris. I'm Mary's husband. I think we need to talk." Anthony stepped aside. "You better come in." The apartment was nothing like Adam's house. Small furniture, bare walls except for family photos in simple frames. The whole place probably smaller than his living room. But it was warm in a way his house hadn't felt in years. Colorful blankets folded neatly on the couch. Fresh flowers on the table. Children's drawings taped to the refrigerator. This was a home where people actually lived. Anthony told him the story. And then, because there was someone who deserved to tell it herself, he led Adam to a small bedroom in the back. Grace was lying in bed, her skin gray, her cheeks hollowed out. But her eyes were sharp and kind and completely clear. And they were Mary's eyes. "So you're Adam," she said. "Mary's told me everything about you, though I suppose she's told you nothing about me." "I'm sorry," Adam said. "I didn't know you were sick." "Of course you didn't. How could you?" Grace smiled, though it cost her something. Come closer. Let me look at the man my daughter loves so much she's been lying to him for 10 years. Grace told him everything. Her husband Robert, a bricklayer, a good man who built houses for wealthy families and never got to live in one himself. The fall from the scaffold when Mary was 12, no money for the funeral, neighbors collecting coins, 5 children. Mary working in a shop during the day and going to school at night, fighting for every inch of the life she eventually built. Why did she lie to me about it? Adam asked. Why didn't she just trust me with the truth? Grace's expression was gentle, but clear. She met you at a party for wealthy people. She was working there that night, serving drinks to guests like you. You started talking to her. You liked her. You asked her out. And she was terrified that if you knew she was the girl, carrying the tray instead of the girl holding the glass, you wouldn't want her anymore. That's not fair, Adam said. She should have trusted me. Should she? Grace asked, her voice getting just a little stronger. In your world, your restaurants, your business meetings, your country clubs, how many people like us do you see? How many bricklayers' daughters? Adam didn't have an answer. Mary didn't lie because she's a liar, Grace said. She lied because the world taught her that people like us aren't good enough for people like you. And maybe without even meaning to, you taught her that too. Adam sat with that for a long time. He thought about the janitors in his building whose names he'd never learned after 15 years. He thought about the time he'd told a business partner to find someone more polished instead of hiring a qualified candidate from this exact neighborhood. He thought about the jokes at dinner parties about those areas that he'd laughed along with without ever once stopping to wonder who lived there. People like Grace, people like the little girl Mary used to be. He felt genuinely sick. Adam left the apartment that evening with a plan forming. Not just a plan to fix things with Mary, but a plan to actually become different. Because here was the hard truth he'd been avoiding. You can't change what you don't admit. And Adam had a lot to admit. The next morning, before Mary was awake, he was on his laptop researching cancer specialists. He made an appointment with one of the best oncologists in the city. He drove to his office building, not to the executive floor, but to the second floor, where the maintenance staff had their break room. He knocked on the door and walked in. 3 people looked up in shock. The boss had never come down here before. What are your names? Adam asked. They told him. Marcus, security guard, 10 years. Linda, janitor, 8 years. Jose, janitor, 15 years. 15 years. Adam had never once asked Jose's name. Are the wages here fair? Adam asked. Can you pay your bills? Take care of your families? The silence that followed was its own kind of answer. Finally, Marcus said quietly and carefully, To be honest, sir, no. I work full-time here and still need a second job on weekends. My wife works too. Sometimes at the end of the month, we're choosing between medicine and groceries. Adam felt something shift in his chest, a specific kind of shame that comes from recognizing something you should have seen a long time ago. Starting next month, he said every person on the maintenance staff is getting a 30% raise. Full health insurance, you and your families, and if anyone needs help with anything, medical bills, school costs, anything, you come to me directly, Linda whispered. Is this a joke? No joke, Adam said. I should have done this years ago. He went upstairs and told his assistant to schedule personal meetings with every employee making under $50,000 a year, over 100 people. His business partners called that afternoon, baffled and worried about costs. Just because they don't complain doesn't mean they're not struggling, Adam said. And just because we can pay them less doesn't mean we should. He hung up and looked out his office window at the city below. Somewhere out there, Mary was with her mother. Somewhere out there, people were working double shifts and still coming up short. How had he not seen it before? He had seen it. He just hadn't let himself feel it, because feeling it would mean admitting that his success wasn't just about being smart and hardworking. It was also about being lucky, about starting in a world that was already arranged in his favor. That evening, Adam was sitting in the living room when Mary came home. She looked exhausted, carrying the weight of 2 lives the way she always did. He asked her to sit with him. She did, hands twisted in her lap, waiting for another interrogation. Instead, he said, "I want to tell you something, and I need you to just listen until I'm finished." She nodded. "I've been a bad husband," he said. "Not because I was unkind, but because I never really asked about you, the real you. I accepted your simple stories because they fit what I expected. I created a marriage where you didn't feel safe telling me the truth, and that is my fault, not yours." Mary's eyes filled with tears. "Whatever you're hiding from me, whatever secrets you think will make me stop loving you, you're wrong. I love you, the real you, not some polished, perfect version, and nothing you could tell me would change that." He stood, kissed her forehead. "I'm going to bed. Take your time. And Mary, stop going to fake hair appointments. If you need to go somewhere, just tell me you need to go somewhere. You don't have to lie anymore." He went upstairs and lay in the dark, heart pounding, waiting. The next morning, Mary was sitting on the edge of the bed when he opened his eyes. She hadn't slept. "I kept thinking about what you said," she started, "about how I don't have to lie anymore. But I'm scared, Adam. I'm so scared." "I know. You say nothing I tell you will change how you feel, but you don't know what I'm going to say." "Then show me," Adam said softly. "Let me meet the real Mary." She stood and walked to the window. For a long time, she just looked out at the yard with its perfect green grass and expensive flowers, a yard she had tended carefully for 10 years as part of the performance of being someone else. "My father wasn't a teacher," she said finally. "He was a bricklayer. He died when I was 12, falling from a construction site 3 floors up. My mother doesn't live in a nice countryside house. She lives in a 1-room apartment on the east side, and she's dying of cancer right now." Adam sat up and stayed quiet. "I have 4 younger brothers and sisters. After my dad died, I worked in a shop during the day and went to school at night. I studied in the library because we didn't have electricity at home half the time." She turned to face him, tears streaming. "When I met you at that party, I wasn't a guest. I was working there, carrying drinks to people like you. And when you asked me out, I panicked. Because I knew if you found out I was just a poor girl from the east side, you wouldn't want me. So I made up a story, and then one lie became another lie, and another, until my whole life was built on something that wasn't true." She slid down the wall and sat on the floor, sobbing. "Anthony Scott isn't someone I'm having an affair with. He's my uncle, my mother's brother. He's been helping me take care of her for 6 months because I couldn't tell you the truth. I couldn't ask you for help, because then you'd know everything. You'd see me the way I really am." Adam got out of bed and sat down on the floor beside her. "Are you done?" he asked gently. She nodded. "Okay. Now it's my turn." He paused. "I already knew." Mary went completely still. "What?" "I already knew about your mother, about Anthony, about where you really came from." He took a breath. "I was the taxi driver." Her eyes went wide. "I thought you were cheating on me." "I disguised myself. I picked you up. I heard your phone call. I heard everything." He held her gaze. "And then I went to your mother's apartment and I met Anthony. And I sat with your mom and she told me the truth about your family. All of it." Mary stared at him in disbelief. "You knew this whole time. You knew and you didn't say anything." "I needed time," Adam said, "to understand, to figure out how to become the kind of husband you deserved. Because, Mary, you were right to be scared of telling me. Not because I would have stopped loving you, but because I wasn't worthy of your truth yet. The tears came again, different this time. What does that mean? It means, Adam said slowly, that I've spent my whole life in a bubble. A comfortable, wealthy bubble where I was polite to people who were struggling, but I never actually saw them. Never saw them as equals. Never asked their names after 15 years of working for me. Never thought about what their lives actually cost them. He looked at her directly. If you had told me the truth on our first date, your dad was a bricklayer, your mom sells vegetables, I want to believe I would have still asked you out. But honestly, I don't know. And that makes me ashamed. Mary was very quiet. So I've been trying to change, Adam continued. Not perform change, actually change. I gave raises to the maintenance staff at my company. I'm meeting with every underpaid employee personally. I made an appointment with one of the best cancer doctors in the city. He's coming to see your mother tomorrow. Mary looked up. What? Dr. Michael Chen, oncology specialist. He's going to examine her and tell us what treatment options are available. And whatever she needs, chemotherapy, surgery, medication, anything, we're going to pay for it. Adam, that could cost. I don't care what it costs, he said, firmly. She's your mother. She's my family now, too, and family takes care of family. That's what Anthony told me, and he's right. Mary covered her face with her hands and cried. But different tears this time. The kind that come when something you've been carrying alone for years finally gets shared. Adam pulled her close. She buried her face against him and let it all out. 10 years of fear. 10 years of loneliness. 10 years of holding two separate lives together by herself. After a long time, she looked up at him. You really went to see my mother? Yes. And she let you in? After a minute? She has your eyes, you know. Mary laughed through her tears, a broken, beautiful sound. Can I go see her today? She asked. For real this time, without lying about it? Of course, Adam said. And I want to come with you, if that's okay. I want to meet your family properly. All of them. 2 hours later, they were in the car together driving east. Mary kept glancing at him like she was waiting for the dream to end. Are you nervous? She asked. Terrified, Adam admitted. What? If your family doesn't like me? My mom already told me you have kind eyes, Mary said. She also said you needed to learn some lessons. Adam laughed. She was completely right about that. Anthony opened the door and looked at them both. Then, he broke into a wide, warm smile. She told you, he said, not a question. She told me, Adam confirmed. Good, Anthony said, stepping aside. It's about time. Come in. Grace was in a chair by the window. When she saw them together, really together, not pretending, something in her face relaxed, like a knot finally, coming loose. And you're still here, she said to Adam. I'm still here, he said. And I'm not going anywhere. Meeting Mary's siblings was its own kind of moment. The four of them poured into the apartment in a wave of noise and laughter that stopped cold the second they saw Adam standing there. The oldest brother, David, went straight to skeptical. Pretty words are easy, he said, after Adam tried to explain himself. What have you actually done? I've hired Dr. Michael Chen to treat your mother, Adam said. He's coming tomorrow. Whatever she needs, surgery, chemotherapy, the best care available, we're covering it. All of it. Silence. How much will that cost? The younger brother, Michael, asked carefully. Maybe 200,000. Maybe 500,000? Maybe more, Adam said. I don't know, and I don't care. She's Mary's mother. That makes her my family. David crossed his arms. We can't accept charity. It's not charity, Adam said. It's family. When you love someone, you take care of their people. That's what family does, right? From the corner, Anthony said quietly, that's what I've been trying to tell you all for years. They had dinner together that night. All 8 of them squeezed around a table meant for 4, extra chairs pulled in from the bedroom. Adam's suit jacket hanging on a hook by the door, looking completely out of place. The food was simple. Chicken, rice, vegetables, fresh bread. And it was the best meal Adam had eaten in years, not because of what was on the plate, but because of what was around the table. Real people, real stories, real laughter. Anthony taught Adam how to season chicken. Sarah showed him how to actually cut vegetables without losing a finger. Mary stood next to him, guiding his hands and laughing when he inevitably almost cut himself anyway. "You're genuinely terrible at this," she said, giggling. "I know," Adam said, "but I'm trying." That night, he and Mary slept on an air mattress on the living room floor, the kind that slowly deflates so that by morning, you're basically on the ground. He could hear every sound from the street outside. Grace coughing softly in the bedroom, someone's music from 3 floors up. And Mary was curled against his chest, completely at peace for the first time in 10 years. "Thank you," she whispered in the dark. "For what?" "For being here. For not running." "I should have been here years ago," Adam said. "You're here now," she said. "That's what matters." Dr. Chen came the next afternoon. He examined Grace carefully, reviewed her records, and came out with the kind of face that told the truth before he opened his mouth. Stage 3 spreading, more aggressive treatment needed. Chemotherapy, possible surgery, better pain management. No guarantee of a cure, but more time. Real time. "Whatever it takes," Adam said. Treatment began. Grace moved into their house. The downstairs guest room converted. A nurse brought in, but mostly Mary herself doing the caring. Adam visited the hospital almost every day, sometimes with Mary, sometimes alone. He sat with Grace and listened to her stories. She taught him things that no boardroom or business school ever had. That dignity has nothing to do with money. That real strength looks like raising 5 kids after your husband dies with nothing but your own 2 hands. That family isn't about blood or status. It's about showing up. Mary's brothers and sisters slowly let him in. David eventually invited him to play basketball, and Adam was so bad at it that everyone in the neighborhood laughed, and somehow that was the thing that finally broke through. James asked him to be godfather to his new baby. Sarah invited him to her nursing school graduation. Michael asked for help writing a business plan for a repair shop. Adam showed up for all of it. At his company, he kept changing things. Lower paid. Employees got raises, better health coverage. He started eating lunch with different staff members every week, security guards, janitors, administrative assistants, learning names, hearing stories, actually seeing people. Some of his wealthy friends thought he'd lost his mind. His own parents came to visit, took one look at Grace living in their house, and his mother said, "You married below your station." Adam told her, clearly and calmly, that if she couldn't treat Mary and her family with respect, she was welcome to leave. She left, didn't speak to him for 2 months. Then she called. She came back, sat with Grace, really listened to her stories. By the end of the visit, Adam's mother was crying, and Grace was gently patting her hand. "We're all just doing our best, dear," Grace said. "That's all any of us can do." Grace responded to treatment better than expected. Not a cure. The cancer was too far along for that. But time, real time, 2.5 more years. She got to see Michael's repair shop open. She got to see Sarah graduate and start working at the hospital where she'd once received treatment. She got to see David get married. She got to hold James's daughter when she took her first steps. She got to see Mary finally living as herself, whole, unhidden, free. On Grace's last day, the room was full. All 5 of her children, Anthony, Adam, the nurse who had cared for her, neighbors who'd taken the bus across town to say goodbye. The room was warm and crowded and exactly right. Grace looked at each face slowly. When her eyes reached Adam, she reached out her thin hand. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" Adam asked. "For loving my daughter, really loving her, all of her. "It's easy," Adam said, his voice breaking. "She's the best person I know," Grace smiled. "You turned out okay in the end." "Thanks to you," Adam said. "You taught me what really matters." "What really matters?" she asked softly. "People," Adam said. "Family, dignity, respect. Not money, not status, not what neighborhood you're from. Just people, treating everyone like they matter, because they do." Grace squeezed his hand one more time. "See?" she said. "You learned." She closed her eyes, surrounded by everyone who loved her, and slipped away peacefully. At the funeral, Adam stood at the front of the church and talked about what Grace had given him. Not money, not connections, the ability to finally see clearly. "Grace came from nothing," he said, tears running freely. "But she gave everything. She gave love, wisdom, dignity. She taught me that where you come from doesn't define who you are. What defines you is how you treat people, how you show up for them." He looked at Mary in the front row. She also gave the world an extraordinary daughter. A woman who carried the weight of 2 lives for 10 years because she was afraid of being rejected. And I'm ashamed that something about who I was, how I saw the world, how I talked about certain people in certain places, made the woman I love believe she had to hide herself from me. He paused. But Grace gave me a gift, a chance to change, to become the man Mary deserved all along. Here's what I keep coming back to after sitting. With this story, Mary didn't lie because she was a dishonest person. She lied because she was a smart person who had spent her whole life watching the world sort people into categories. And she knew from experience exactly which category she came from and exactly how that category got treated. She was protecting herself. She was protecting her family. And she was doing it the only way she knew how, by becoming someone she thought was acceptable. The real question this story asks isn't, how could she lie for 10 years? The real question is, what did Adam do, and without even realizing it, that made the woman he loved feel like the truth about herself was too dangerous to tell him? That's the question worth sitting with, because most of us don't think of ourselves as the kind of person who would make someone feel less than. We're polite, we're decent, we're kind. But kindness and actually seeing people, really seeing them as full human beings with equal dignity, are not always the same thing. And sometimes the gap between those two things is exactly where fear like Mary's grows. Adam had to see himself clearly before he could be worthy of being seen clearly. That's the real story here. So let me ask you, is there someone in your life carrying something alone right now because they're not sure you're ready to hear it? Is there someone in a room around you every day whose name you've never asked after years of them showing up? Those questions are worth something. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What did this story bring up for you? Have you ever been in a position where you felt you had to hide part of yourself to be loved? Or have you been on the other side, realizing too late that you'd made someone feel that way? Those stories matter, and this community wants to hear them. And if this moved you, if it made you think about the people around you a little differently, please subscribe. Every week we bring you stories like this one. Real, human, complicated stories about the choices that shape us and the moments that change us. Thank you for being here. Every single one of you. I'll see you in the next one.